and raised in Northern Illinois. She was a valedictorian of her high school class and attended the University of Illinois Urbana. She received her degree in astrophysics in the top 5% of her graduating class and completed the Air Force ROTC program. In the Air Force, Sandy became a pilot, instructor pilot, and test pilot during her career. Unbelievable. She was injured by a vaccine. Many people were back, and we can talk a little bit about that, in the 1990s, and barely completed 20 years of service, retiring in 2007. Because of her health issues, she transitioned to a non-flying career. She was accepted to the University of California, Berkeley, where she completed her master's and PhD in particle physics. When a physics teaching position opened at the Air Force Academy, she applied and was accepted in January 2016, becoming an assistant professor. During the COVID scamdemic, she fought against the mandates and helped students who wanted to request religious exemptions. She faced disciplinary actions and eventually was fired in September 2022. She immediately filed a lawsuit for illegal firing and whistleblower retaliation. After waiting 13 months, the judge finally gave a decision against Sandy, so she is now in the appeal process with the U.S. Circuit Court. Mm-hmm. As she was facing disciplinary actions, God led Sandy to the Republic for the United States of America, the re-inhabited, keyword, republic that our founding fathers gave us and which was abandoned in 1871 when a corporation hijacked the government. Sandy, thanks so much for coming on. I'm really looking forward to this show. It's going to be very educational for everybody. I've seen another show that you did. It was very, very insightful. So I'm glad you came on. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you, Michael. It's nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, you as well. You were going to be, your dream was to be, go in space, be an astronaut. But you got that crazy shot that a lot of us got during the Gulf War. Tell us a little bit about
that. So yes, the reason why I joined the military was because God essentially put it on my heart that I needed to be an astronaut. And so in my mind, it was, doing science in space, and that was watching the moon landings on our little tiny black and white TV. So I think a lot of people in the audience can probably relate to that. Now, of course, knowing that none of that actually happened, and it was all Stanley Kubrick and his excellent director skills. So I'm sure your audience is familiar with that.
Yep.
So yes, I call it Gulf War I Part 2, since there was the ground war in 1991 and then 1992 summertime. Saddam crossed back over into the border to try to bring some of his equipment back. I don't know who told him to do that, but so of course we have to go in and slap him down. And so I was flying cargo planes at the time, and they gave most of us, I would say, shots. And I'm sure I asked, I'm sure they said, and I went, okay, because I didn't know any better back then, just like all of us. We just trusted what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until just about I was retiring when I started to really think about, when did I start to feel bad? And it was right at around that time. I essentially asked, when was the last time I felt well? And I said, probably right when I started flying cargo. Okay, what happened back then? Gulf War. Okay. So I start looking it up, and of course, Gulf War syndrome pops up. Yeah. And I'm reading the typical symptoms, and I'm like, that's me. I'm a poster child. What did they do to me? So detoxing and all the rest of that, having to teach myself, natural medicine and the rest of it, because the doctors were useless. They said I was depressed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, a triathlete who can't walk up a flight of stairs. That's depression.
Oh yeah. Wow. Mm-hmm. So you're a triathlete too. Good for you.
Was.
So you're obviously still in good shape. You've cleaned yourself out quite a bit, I bet. There are detoxing protocols out there that, like you said, you have to learn on your own. And we've been sharing over the years, and people have been, detoxing themselves. So that's why the population hasn't decreased more than it has, fortunately. So here we are at the point where let's go back to where you go back into the Air Force Academy to teach. Mm-hmm. And you're teaching, you're doing a great job, you're contributing again. And then they come out with this next little, vaccination, and you're already clued up that this is probably not a good thing to do. Right. And you start helping people.
That's right. I think both of us lived through the anthrax debacle, didn't we?
Yeah, the anthrax. I got that shot too. Fortunately, I didn't get any problems.
You're lucky. Yeah, really.
Yeah, you're right. But so many people have, it's kind of like COVID. 1 or 2 weeks. People survived it and didn't get any problems, and
lot of people died.
Yeah,
other people died.
Yeah.
Well, it turned out that it was, quote, my turn. I was in a non-combat at the time role, but yet they were coming around to, get some of us that had not gotten it yet. Now, I don't even know what I got back in the day. But there was a lawsuit that was pending, which was Doe v. Rumsfeld 2003, which essentially shut that whole program down. I wasn't even aware of where it was in the process, but what ended up happening, I had a cold or something, a sinus infection, I think at the time, and they said, well, it's time for you to start the anthrax series. And I thought for a second, and I go, with my health, I know I'm thinking this, right? I'm not going to survive this. I says, well, I'm just getting over, I'm taking antibiotics and all this other stuff. Maybe I should wait like a week or so until after I'm finished with the sinus infection. Mm-hmm. And the doctors just paused for a second. He went, okay. Within that time frame, Doe v. Rumsfeld came down and the program was shut down, and that saved my life. Ooh. That was God. Because I don't think I would have survived it.
Yeah, because you already have, that's a crazy thing to me. They're giving these shots to people that are already sick. Your immune system's lowered, and you're giving them a shot that's going to do even worse. So
I know.
Thank God that that happened. Good job for standing up.
Yep. So that was an interesting time, of course. And so I already knew, living through the anthrax thing, that they can't tell you to take an emergency use authorized product. And that's what was essentially going on back then. So when COVID rolls around, they did exactly the same thing again. They faked an FDA authorization and licensing, faked. Okay, you read the documents and it's not even secret. You just have to read the footnotes too. And so I did that. As soon as it came out, I went, all right, I know something's wrong here. Started reading it. And sure enough, it says right there that it's EUA versus approved. And the only thing that's approved is something called Comirnaty. And if you go to the website, about where you can get Comirnaty, if you were, say, a medical clinic at the base, it says right there that the manufacturer is not going to be making it ever. And so everyone took an emergency use authorized voluntarily, even though you were threatened, coerced, whatever, to take it in order to not lose your job, which is essentially what they did to me, until I said, no, because you're breaking the law and you're giving me an illegal order, and I am under my oath to not only say no, but to report you to the higher chain of command. 9 Inspector General investigations later on all of my chain of command and some folks on the side at the Academy, which morphed into an Office of Special OSC. Oh, I forget what the C means. I'm so sorry. And so OSC. And that was because some of my complaints fell into that category. And so all of that, of course, came back. No, we believe the military and the Air Force, and we don't believe you. So then firing, and then having to file my own lawsuit, and then the judge saying, no, I don't believe you either. It's like, okay, well, I'll just file with the U.S. Circuit Court. So we're in the middle of that right now. Our deadline, in fact, is coming up in just a few weeks to file the appeal. And that's where that situation sits.
Fantastic. There were a group of Navy SEALs, fortunately, that got wired up, and I think they got a guy in Texas that actually helped them get out of the vaccination. But how many did you save anyone from getting vaccinated?
So I don't consider that I did anything other than help people who asked me to, because I didn't push someone against the wall and say, you got to stop, or anything like that. Because that's what I was accused of, is, I was coercing them.
Right.
I think you're boomeranging here just a little bit, right? Because that's what you're doing. Because literally the commandant got up on the balcony of the Air Force Academy Chow Hall and said, you will get your shot or you will get kicked out. There was no, oh, and there's a religious exemption. Oh, there's a medical exemption. There's a process. No. And so when the cadets and students asked me, I said, well, didn't they tell you about the regulations? Don't know. Get the shot or get out. I'm like, well, then here you go. Here's how it works. And here's the process. And here's a template if you'd like to file your own. Some of them said yes. Some of them said no. I would say, to answer your question, probably 10, maybe, cadets and students at the Air Force Academy were the ones that decided, I'm out of here, or went through the process of getting kicked out. They are just, I want to hire them, for standing up for their principles. These are the ones that need to be brought back in, promoted, and put in charge of our military. And I'm on, all kinds of chats and stuff like that on social media where we compare notes about what's going on. And you've probably heard of all the major folks. You may even interviewed them. So, yeah.
Yeah. So we just before the show, we were talking about how, there's seems to be, well, there is, not seem to be, maybe it was mine looking in, but for us now, we realize there are, bad military types. I've kind of seen that over the years. It's like, that guy is just, something's wrong with him. He's like, makes so many wrong decisions. How can he be in a leadership position? And then you get those guys that are like just incredible to work with and really look after everybody. So there was definitely a division there. I could see it throughout my career. I'm sure you could probably see it now as you look back. So this is the deep state, promoting people into positions where they're going to do what they tell them to do. Right. Just like, we are, following orders, good orders, rifle orders, and so forth. And
lawful orders is what you're supposed to follow. You're supposed to know the difference. But these are cadets and students, and they're too young. They don't know the difference.
Yeah, so you get these guys, pushing unlawful orders. Of course, there was a group that tried to push that on the military, saying that President Trump, you shouldn't follow unlawful orders from President Trump. Well, we all know that. We're all taught that. So we know the difference. So you don't need to, push that. That was. Unless
there was a specific narrative.
I thought that. But anyway, what are your thoughts on, have we been cleaning out some of these negative types more than normal? Because you talk about the military, basically, there was a military group after JFK was assassinated. Start from there.
Okay. So this now gets into the story of the Republic. Is that where you want me to go?
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. All right. So most of what I'm going to tell you is what we were told by the good guy military that actually approached our group before we became the Republic. So I'm going to caveat that up front.
Okay.
So apparently, sometime around the JFK assassination, early to mid 1960s, a bunch of generals, retired or active, probably both at the time, we're looking at this whole situation with the cabal and everything. And then after JFK got assassinated by his own government, I think most people on your channel are aware of that evidence.
Yeah.
It was a combination of CIA, probably FBI, and definitely mafia. And so probably a few other, helpers.
Yeah.
And they,
specifically put together by former President Bush.
Right, HW. Mm-hmm.
W.
Yep. Yep. So they said, we got to do something. This has got to stop. And I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know when we're going to do it, but we got to start organizing. So that was the 60s. And then through the 70s timeframe, of course, they're probably recruiting most of what their activities were. And of course, keeping tabs on everything that they can and intelligence and the rest, and starting to develop some assets and some resources that were on their side. So by about 79, 80 timeframe, they start to develop the plan. And from another piece of information from a podcaster who was in a random meeting with someone who knew this insider info I'm about to tell you, Trump was recruited to be the president sometime in the early to mid 1980s by this same group. And he said yes. Yeah. He didn't know when, although I think they were kind of pointing towards the 2016 timeframe, because the generals who were on the inside, maybe good guys pretending to be bad guys so they could get the intel, they knew what the cabal's plan was. And that was Obama from 08 to 16. And it was Hillary from 16 to whenever, World War III, and all the nuclear bombs would go off. That was the plan. Okay. Wow. Yep. And so if that was how the cabal plan went, then they knew when Trump would fit into that. And pretty much I would think that he had a contact in the, and everyone calls them the white hats. We got to be careful because the Masons use that term. And so I say good guy military, or try to anyways. If I say white hats, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So the fast forwarding now, and apparently they acted too soon. Again, this is back from information from the good guy military that are approaching us. And they told us that a group of them acted too soon, and about 300 of them were killed by Clinton during his administration, which was 92 to 2000, I think, something like that, right?
Like that. So along those lines, I'd heard there was like a group that was flying in to basically take him out, take him down, do a coup. And that plane crashed, and then that's like you're talking about. Many military members were killed then.
Okay, well, that's more information than we had, so I will definitely use that and try to find out some more details about that. Okay. But that lines up, at least, with information we both have.
Yeah.
So now we fast forward to 2008, and their plan is now pretty much developed. But they realize that in order to do the plan, they cannot, by their oath of office to the Constitution, have a military takeover or dictatorship or oligarchy or whatever. There has to be a lawful civil authority over them so they can do all the things that they know they need to do, which means they need the republic back. So there were a couple of larger patriot groups back in that time frame. It was just after Obama's election, which we know he didn't get elected in that year. They fixed it in November of 2008. Shortly thereafter, that's when our group was approached. At the time, we were called the Restore America Plan, or RAP. And a couple of our leaders were approached by these good guy military. And they were all in civilian clothes. They all did not use their real names or whatever. They said, I'm Joe, I'm Mike, whatever it was. And they told the story I just told you of their history, where they come from, and what they're trying to do. And so the plan is, if one of the patriot groups can restore the republic, and what we call re-inhabit the republic to avoid confusion with 12 other patriot groups that kind of say the same thing. And so they ask us to do that, and we says, well, we're going to darn well try. I could spend hours telling you about that process, but essentially 2 years later, in November 14th of 2010, we had a grassroots approach in those 2 years where we settled the counties, which basically means the counties saying, it's we the people. We have to remember that 95% of the government is the county level, we the people. Nobody knows that. It's all been whipped out of us. We don't even think about it anymore, but that's the truth. So once they had, a couple of counties, good number of counties in the state, then they formed a state level assembly from delegates from the counties. And then they appointed a governor, secretary of state, etc. And that's basically because they didn't know how to do it otherwise. There was no other documentation that we knew of. Our founding fathers warned us, be careful, don't lose the, if you can keep it, right? Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah.
But we lost.
You can keep it, madam.
If you can keep it, madam, that's right. So 1871, Organic Act of 1871, and you'll get all kinds of bar attorneys arguing that, no, that's not what it means and all that. It's like, oh, yes, it does. Go to Dun and Bradstreet and look up all the corporations at every level of government. Not a problem. You can find it if you know how to use their little search engine. And I actually made a little video where I used these little clips from that website. So the 2010, we signed what's called a Declaration of Sovereign Intent in Ephraim, Utah, where we had a quorum of states that had done this process, county assembly, state assembly, governor, house, senate, etc., that met there. And people felt compelled, like God put it on their heart, like they had to be at this meeting. And they just happened to have that quorum, and they were able to sign this document. And so they had, 200, 300 people there unanimously. When have ever 300 Americans have ever unanimously agreed on anything?
That's amazing.
They did. And they all autographed this document.
Obviously, see, that was good stuff. I like that.
And it's phenomenally written. You can tell there was a presence, they all even said that they felt a presence there. The Holy Spirit.
That's a good point. The presence. So the Constitution, if you really look at the Constitution, there's a presence there, godlike.
Yeah.
And, that's why we have followed it for as long as we have, because it was, written, I believe, through, people obviously wrote it, but they had the hand of God, that's helping them. And it seems like this is the same thing, what you're doing here. Now, it's amazing, it hasn't gone further, but you're going to talk about how I got infiltrated, which a lot of these things do, unfortunately.
And, as an overall summary note on that, if we weren't relevant, why bother?
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
So states were standing up. We had representation in all 50 states by summer of 2012. And so that was just another year and a half after that. We signed another document called the Proclamation of Claim and Interest. And just as it sounds, we claimed all the things that the cabal had stolen. We take back all the land, all the bugs, all the people, all the earth, all the water, all the, everything. And wrote it down, and all the states at the time, autographed it. That and the original Declaration of Sovereign Intent were then filed along with our new flag, because we had to have one, because the cabal had stolen ours in 1871 when they abandoned the republic and said, okay, now we're the government. And so we are now filing in international law that we are the actual government of America.
Wow.
Kind of like in exile, sort of, in parallel. And
I like the way you put that. 1871 is when they created the corporate side of America, and then started to slowly but methodically, push out the republic.
That's right.
So it's been there in parallel, like you
Mhm.
said. It's not
That's right.
gone away. It's in parallel, waiting for those of us to awaken and bring it back.
And there was actually a Supreme Court case where part of the opinion and the decision said, and of course, there's the corporate United States, and then there's the Republic United States.
Wow.
Did they just make that up? Or was that an actual like statement of fact? Which, of course, it's a statement of fact. I think it was 1902, 3, somewhere around that time frame.
Wow.
We have all this stuff on our website, so people can go look it up and make sure I'm not telling you a lie, because I don't lie.
Yeah, and as you're talking, I'm gonna share the website. So just keep on talking, and
Sure.
I'll share it, and I've already put it in the chat.
Awesome.
I've registered already.
Awesome.
It's shocking to me. There's only 3 states that have enough quorum of people, and it's not what do you call them, electors?
Yes, we so we say sign up as a member, but you're really becoming an elector, because a voter is a slave.
Yes.
So we try not to use the word vote or voter.
Words are
We try to
very,
use election,
very important.
elector.
Yes, my wife taught me this. She's been teaching me this for a long time. But
Yep.
you guys are very, very active in the correct verbiage, which means so
That's
much.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, eventually, of course, in our proclamation of claim and interest, we say we reclaim all of our vocabulary too.
Very nice.
So that, we tried to cover everything. I think we even put UFOs in there just to
Good.
make sure.
Cover it all.
So
it's going to come out some point anyway. So
that's right. So that is what we call our members website, because it begins with the word members. And it's republic4usa.org will get you there. And then you click on register. I think it says register. I think you might already be logged in. Looks like it is.
yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
And
No
it's got
worries.
all so
And that is,
important, guys. You want
those are the documents that we just talked about.
Yep.
Yep. So this was filed in the international, actually, this is something else. This is a executive summary. So the proclamation and the declaration were filed along with our new flag, which basically is the same flag, except we put the stars in a circle like the original Betsy Ross, with no star in the middle, because that's where God is.
Beautiful.
That's what our flag act actually says. And so that is our flag for this republic, because we can't have the corporate one because it got stolen. So until the people will have to decide what to do. So now we file all of that in the international systems as required by law, which was the United Nations, the International Court at The Hague, the Universal Postal Union. And then, of course, internally, we went to the Cabal Corporate Pentagon and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They got a copy of all of this. And after we had done all that, and that was roughly April, May timeframe of 2012, and we were starting to hold grand juries.
Wow.
Of guess who? Obama and all of his minions. That was a little bit of what we call poking the bear.
Oh, yeah.
And the bear poked back. So before that happened, though, somehow some of our former military retirees that were in leadership positions found out about, and I still wish I could talk to this gentleman, but he's passed on. How did he know about this meeting of 2 of the retired generals that were in this good guy military group? And they were having a meeting in Phoenix area, Arizona. And they drove down with an original copy of the documents and got permission for a hallway meeting. This is the way its story is told. And it's basically like, as you're walking from their office to the conference room, you get this 5 minutes or whatever to say your piece. And by the time they got to the end of the hallway, at least one of the generals goes into the room and says, the meeting's canceled. Let's bring in all of our staffs. We've got something more important to do. And they went through our documents line by line. And at the end of that 8-10 hours, however that long day was, they declared at the end that we had done it exactly lawfully and constitutionally. We were the actual republic. And we had done what they had asked us to do. So one of those generals became very active with us in terms of podcasting and, things like that. And that was kind of like our connection, with the good guy military group for a while. So now we are a major threat to the bad guys. So they had already infiltrated and sent their agents in, FBI, CIA, all those folks, probably LIRS as well, and surrounded our president, who was an appointed president. He was not elected. And he did not have a clue of who was around him, but everyone who was his friends were telling him, these people are bad people. Oh, no, they're okay.
Oh.
Well, the same thing's happening today, but we'll get to that part of the story here in a minute. And so by September of 2012, he was routinely meeting with the FBI and other folks because they were pretending to represent, okay, you guys are the real republic, and so we need to have a relationship with you because eventually it's going to switch over, right? So this is the kind of story they told. But in the meantime, they were setting him up. They tricked him into a meeting and kidnapped him and said he was under arrest.
Wow.
He hadn't done anything wrong, but they certainly made up enough charges and made it stick. So September of 12 till March of 13, when his actual trial was, Kangaroo Court, they already knew the verdict before he even walked in. And all of his evidence didn't go with him. He put it on the bus to go to the court, but it never got delivered. And he had to go by memory. And he pretty much cleared himself of all the charges by memory. What's interesting is the judge still found him guilty at the end. And the transcripts, if you ever order them, has he had no evidence. And so therefore he was found guilty. So they changed the transcripts. They made him, guilty of everything. And I think it was 18 years plus probation or something like that.
Good God.
Yeah. For IRS, paper crime, tax evasion, bond fraud, whatever it is that they said he did. It was white collar stuff. Okay. 18 years. Not only that, but they put him in the maximum security prisons with the international terrorists, hoping he would get killed. But God had a different plan. And so I'm going to fast forward on that part because eventually he does get out under the CARES Act in 2023, May. And so us Promethean Action, that's an awesome site, by the way.
It really is. I've been
Love
reading
these. I call them the MAGA grandmas. They're awesome. They really connect the dots really well.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, so he gets released under the CARES Act, and the same people that set him up the first time pop back into his life and say, and he doesn't have a clue that these are bad people still, and starts to believe them. Now, everyone who knew him very well, friends, like brothers, with him, they go, that's Tim's face, voice, mannerisms, and everything. But he's changed. Something's not right. He's saying different things. He's saying things he would never say 10 years ago. So we got to wonder what happened to him in prison.
Yeah.
And why would they release enemy number one from prison, even for health reasons, which is what the claim was, that he was terminally ill or whatever. Well, not long after that, a gentleman starts living with him full time, and he calls himself his caretaker. That sounds an awful lot like handler.
Yeah, definitely.
And we also have 100% evidence that one of his followers called him a handler, and that lots of folks were being handled. So you don't use that word unless it's for a specific purpose, either FBI or CLIA.
Right.
I mean, that's just who uses it, right? So,
I mean, you can see some of these people like that have gone through some kind of program, like Mitch McConnell, when he like tripped and hurt himself, and he was in the hospital for a while, and then he comes back, and you can see him at a conference where he's talking about, you know, how we're doing this, we're doing that, and then somebody comes up and like gives him a tap on the
touches
arm,
him on his hand, and then suddenly he's like freezes.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So
I've seen it. Yeah. What did they have on their hand that they, you know, gave him something, or he knew that meant shut up?
Yep. They trained him to, if we touch you this way or this place, it's like you turn off. So, and he did.
So we're pretty sure it's a puppet and a puppet master.
Right.
This handler that lives with him still claims to have been a Navy SEAL graduate, or graduating from the Navy SEAL school. Whether or not he was actually a Navy SEAL, you know, he changes his story because we've now busted him.
Oh, yeah.
Because I contacted the folks that have the Navy SEAL training records.
Yes, good.
And he's not on it.
Right.
So then he changes his story, and he makes this elaborate thing about how it's, you know, his godfather, and he asked him to be on a special mission and put him through the Navy SEALs course. And I told that to the people at the training records, and they go, that was the largest load of
BS, yeah.
Poo that they ever heard. So, yeah. So anyways,
we have a lot of people that do that. You know,
that's his handler.
Yeah. And we you know, we dime them out all the time. There's a way you can, you know, contact that group. And so good job doing that. And yeah, so I've seen them over the years. I've even had guys like come up to me and like, you know, give me the 3rd-degree questions. I'm like, geez, don't I look like a SEAL? Come on, guys.
You know, come on, really. I know. So now let's go back. So after he was kidnapped, of course, the bad guys are thinking, okay, we've taken the head of the republic and it'll collapse. Well, that's not how a republic works, as we all know. And so line of succession, all the folks that were the infiltrators disappeared that were in that line of succession. And so it got down to the Senate President Pro Tem. And that was James Buchanan Geiger. And his oath of office says, yes, I will take this on temporarily until we get him back. Well, he's still the president today. Poor guy. So 2012 until, what is it, almost 14 years now, 13 and a half years. I didn't think he was expecting that to happen. So that was the first infiltration, the biggest one. And they didn't just arrest the president. They arrested like this governor and that secretary of state, and, you know, and they just put giant fear into the entire group. And so from millions of followers down to a few hundred, maybe 1,000. And that almost destroyed the republic, but we didn't die. So we've been working on refilling those seats. And in the meantime, we actually found a law on the books, and a lot of people have probably heard of it, called the Northwest Ordinance. And that's what they were using as a checklist for how do you take an area of land, make it territory, have territorial governance, and then all the steps to go through to get statehood. Now that was passed under the Articles of Confederation, which came before the Constitution. That was our first attempt at a government, but it didn't have enough federal government. And so it failed. And so back to the drawing board, and then we got the Constitution. In 1789, it was ratified, and first Congress started to meet. George Washington was our first president. We had presidents before that, but no one ever teaches that in school, right? Because they were for the Confederation. So now we've got the Constitution, and this Northwest Ordinance was such a brilliant piece of legislation they brought it forward as what was called 1 Statute 50. So the question that, of course, was always on the Republic's mind is, what happens to a state that has not had a republic form of government for over 150 years? It doesn't meet the qualifications of a state according to that list. A valid constitution in alignment with the national constitution, ratified by the people, with republic governor, republic secretary of state, republic house, republic senate.
Wow.
Those are all corporate now after 1871. So we decided
it's not just the federal, it's all the way down the state, county, all the way down. It's all
down to the county, down to the town. How many people have seen the little road signs?
Yes.
You know, incorporated 1904 or something, right?
Wow.
And like they're proud of it. Ooh, we were incorporated in 1904.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go on there and, you know, like, Adams County, Brown County, Charlie County, whatever. Those all have Dun & Bradstreet Corporation listings. All the states, all the counties, all the towns.
Wow.
All of them. So it's easily confirmed. So Constitution, I'm sorry, I lost my train. I was on a roll there.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right. I got it.
A point that it's not just the federal, it's all the way down.
All the way down. And that's
compromised everything.
That's why we had to go back to the county level.
Yes.
And then, once you have the county, then you can pick your state, which is this little tiny bit, and then even a smaller tiny bit for the national level. We try not to use the word federal because that really goes back to the Articles of Confederation, which are not in play at all. They were replaced by the Constitution. So this 1 Statute 50 now, the Northwest Ordinance recodified, is what we use because it makes the most sense. Our founding fathers never thought we would lose the republic, and they didn't give us instructions. This is the closest thing that we could find. So that's how we are reseating the state level, by what this thing says. And so that's the method that we're using. And it makes just a whole lot more sense. It's something we can kind of sink your teeth into, right? So it's like a real law.
Yeah.
And so we had another infiltration, 2016. Oh, I need to mention that President Geiger actually was elected in 2013 when they realized that the first president was never elected. He was only appointed. And so, we'd better have an election. So they had the full electoral process, ads in the paper and the whole 9 yards. And so he was elected as president. So now we're under continuity of government. We don't have a quorum in the House and the Senate and the states. Now it goes up and down because as we start to build again, they come back in and infiltrate and steal some of our folks and trick them into going off. And you know what? It's interesting. We see that as a test of our God's discernment.
Sure.
And that those people didn't have the right discernment to stay in this republic, because we truly are fighting serious evil. And if you don't know true from false, can you adequately represent the republic while we are fighting evil? And that's kind of been the conclusion of the chaplains and some of our sensitive people that, get these kinds of feelings and messages. And a lot of them are in this republic.
So you mentioned how all the 50 states, there was enough electors at one point from all 50 states, but now we're down to Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming.
No. Those are the top 3 per capita electors. So it's kind of like a contest.
Gotcha.
So when you divide the number of electors by the population of the state, they have the highest representation.
I got you. Okay.
Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. And that's because their populations are low.
What's a determining factor for, we have enough electors to basically go back to the republic, or what
Right.
what needs to happen for us to go back to republic and push out this corporate monster?
Okay. So if you follow Northwest Ordinance and 1 Statute 50, and also what it says in the Constitution about the minimum number of people required to consider yourself a territory and then a state, and that's 30,000. And it's also the number that was supposed to be qualifying you for a minimum of 1 House representative. So then if you had 60,000, then you would have 2 House of Representatives. Okay. So that's, how the process worked back then. Of course, now it's like, because they capped it at 435 representatives, it's like 750,000 per representative, which is insane.
Wow.
So that's going to have to be fixed. That's,
yes.
Our Constitution is not perfect.
Especially when you look at California, who is having way too much influence, and they don't need any influence right now at all. But yeah, it's crazy.
That's true. So, so like I said, we go up and down. We have another infiltration, 2016 timeframe, and that's because we were building up again. So they had to. So people listened to the lies, and I think that infiltration might have been nation states, which if you read the Articles of Confederation, so the people who say the Constitution's not valid, yes, it is. The Articles of Confederation said each state is like its own nation or something, wording along those lines. So that's why we say nation states. Well, that's Articles of Confederation, which is not applicable. But now you're doing this divide thing, right? Articles versus Constitution. And people are like, yeah, how come? And then they go with the articles. So then we lose folks. Next infiltration is 2024, last January, a year ago, led by the previous president of the Republic, who had been released from prison a year prior. So puppet and puppet master, unfortunately. The handler making all the rules and telling him all the little lies that he needs to hear in order to turn against the Republic he went to prison for.
They obviously had him in prison just long enough to brainwash him, and MK Ultra or probably all of us.
We have no proof of that except of the signs and symptoms, and the fact that he was stationed. He was stationed at all the nastiest federal prisons where the MK Ultra groups, were located.
Wow.
So Montgomery apparently is one of the big ones. And he was there for a while. So circumstantial on that one, but it sure does fit everything that we're seeing. It gets to the point where, first he tried to recruit me into his, we called the splinter group, to be nice.
Oh, yeah.
When they broke off from us last year. And of course, when you have the original president saying that the Republic is off track and everybody needs to follow him, that's going to do a heck of a lot of damage.
Wow.
We had almost all 50 states fully represented. Counties were coming up, and all this stuff, and then down again. And so that was not terminal, because we had made it a required part of the vetting process to read the re-inhabited books. They're over here, I think. Yeah, just off screen, or right here, right underneath the flag. And Gene Hertler, Hertler, if anyone wants to do a really deep dive, those books are like on Amazon and thrift books and places like that. Volume 1, in a short summary, is how we got a republic and how we lost it. So the true American history. Volume 2 is how did we get the republic back? So the story of the re-inhabitation, what I just told you, in great detail with like 30 pages of footnotes. So it's all documented. And it stops around 2017, I think, after the second infiltration. And the author is in the process of updating, what's happened since then. So hopefully she'll have a 3rd edition coming out here pretty soon. So the next infiltration, like I said,
Gene
2024.
Hallahan, Hertler.
25. Yeah, Gene Hallahan Hertler, right. I'm sorry. And I got the date. It's 2025 last year, right? It's 26 this year. Oh my gosh, I can't keep track.
I know, right?
So January of 25 was this, launching of this plan, which had actually started a little bit in the fall. And I call it my God's discernment antennas. We're going twitch, twitch, twitch. Something's going on, right? Because I could feel that there was some rumblings going on in the background. And of course, they're meeting in secret. And we find out about these meetings after the fact. So anyways, they go off and form their own splinter group. And then they have internal strife, and they now, I guess, have their own splinter group. So now there's two splinter groups, a splinter of the splinter. But this original republic is still standing because we don't change who we are. We are the real republic. And if we weren't, they wouldn't bother with us, like I said before. So that will give you all the information if you really, like I said, want to do a deep dive into this. So now we're in the rebuilding stage again. And we just had another infiltration that was launched. And I guess it depends on how you define it, but it really got bad December and January, just past December and January. So that's like, and there was another minor skirmish, kind of September of last year. So that's 3 infiltrations in a year. You think we might be getting close?
Yeah.
Because this whole time, what the White Hats the good guy military told us is it's a 10-year plan. And if you start counting from 2016, it's now.
Yeah. Now, who does President, does our president have
Geiger?
Which president,
Yeah, I know. Well, President Trump is the CEO of USA Incorporated.
Okay.
And President Geiger is the president of the Republic. And these are running in parallel. Now, it's kind of like Trump is out on the field and the Republic is on the bench waiting to be called in. Okay. So you kind of think of it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we fill the seats, we train, we stand up the counties, we pick up the pieces after another infiltration. And so in this case, it was as far as we can tell, it was the splinter group from last January that infiltrated us this past December and January. If they're doing it right and we're doing it wrong, why bother with us? I'm sorry, I keep emphasizing that, but to me, it's like, it means because we're doing it right and we are the Republic and they have to take us down. And they're not gonna, because we won't let them. And that's who we are.
So do we have anybody at the county level that's active, that's turned any of this back over to the Republic side? So
we have to, we call settle the counties back on the land, because when you're a corporation, you're in maritime water law. So when you settle back on the land, you're going back under common law, natural law, God's law.
Nice.
The people's law.
Yep.
And so we have a process. It's very simple, actually. It's just a step-by-step. And you kind of do a hear ye, and you do a reading on the courthouse steps. And you're not announcing like they did on the Market Square, okay, and the following announcements, and all that. And it would happen a certain time of day. So we've done that with maybe 150 counties.
Really?
Now, there's 3,143 of them. So there's a lot still to do. But we have several in progress at all times. We've had folks that got tricked into following the splinter group that are going, wait a minute, I'm where? I'm not following the original Republic. Well, so they come back and we're okay with that. Sure. So it's pretty much like I said, it's can you discern if I'm telling you the truth or not? We don't tell you what to do. We say, here's the information, you decide. So we don't sling mud. We don't point fingers. We don't, all the stuff that the other side does, because they like to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But they never provide any evidence of anything they say. I've got all the evidence, in multiple places to make sure that we've got it safe for the military tribunals, because each and every one of these people will get a trial, a tribunal. Sorry. So, and as we were commenting before, I says, I'm going to get a front row seat.
Yeah.
I'm going to be right there.
Executions too. Yeah.
And what?
And to the executions.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of those.
Really?
Well, if you think about it,
what are your thoughts?
Well, every single one of these people that took an oath to the Constitution and then violated that oath.
Yep.
I don't know. What do you call, you can look up giving aid and comfort to the enemy during time of war, I think is what the exact definition of treason is. Or what about sedition? It's the same outcome, but it's where you're intentionally trying to undermine the government, the republic, whatever, the country, working against it. And since the republic is the actual government and it is the actual country, anyone who does that is willingly committing, as a minimum, sedition. And anyone comes in under false pretenses with the intention of doing harm to the republic, takes an oath to the Constitution, and then violates it. I don't want to be that person. And we got plenty of those. So we just keep the evidence, and we're going to hand over the big giant hard drive. It's like, here you go. We tried to put it into folders for you. So, yeah. And of course, we'll be helping them out with that. That's when we get restored. So maybe we should talk about that next.
Yeah, let's
what
do
does
that.
It look like?
So here we go. President.
Huh? Yep. So
Trump, like, okay, I'm ready to transition this back to republic.
Right.
What does it look like?
So let's go back just one step, and then I'll go into that.
All right.
So people are like, well, this sounds great, but how do we know that you're telling the truth or whatever?
Definitely a process, no doubt.
Two things happened that need to be spoken of. The first one is when Trump was running for president in summer of 2016, he reached out to President Geiger in the Republic.
Wow.
And said, we need to have a meeting. Because Trump had just been briefed by the good guy military about what we were doing. Now, there was a short conversation, and it basically went, it's too dangerous for both of us to do that. We had just been through our second infiltration. So we were, smaller numbers. And Trump was still running for president. And so if this meeting would have been publicized, lamestream media would have grabbed it or whatever, they would have said domestic terrorists and Trump's meeting with domestic terrorists, because that's kind of the way the FBI and everyone was saying we were, when we don't have a violent bone in our bodies. We're doing this 100% peacefully and lawfully on purpose to keep out of that realm. So the decision was made, Trump, you need to get yourself elected first, then we'll have plenty of time for us to meet. Well, we know what happened to him during his first administration. There was not a split second of time where he could meet with us, nor could he do that and not get attacked for, meeting with a patriot group. And so that meeting never happened. So we're still anticipating that meeting to happen someday. The other problem would be that it would put a giant target on us, because if it would have come out about what we were doing, who would have come after us?
Yeah.
At a time when we were kind of down in numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it made sense to delay that meeting. The other question I get a lot is, are you in direct contact with the good guy military? And I have to answer truthfully, no. But insiders are definitely talking to us, mostly on the financial side. And they have told us in no question or doubt, and he has done this actually on one of our training calls publicly, that this is the original republic. This is the one that will get funded. And the plan is already in place to fund the U.S. Treasury when the time comes, when the announcement is made.
Wow.
And the other group does not have any funding whatsoever. Any of the other groups. Okay.
Incredible.
Because even if they would have re-inhabited or restored their republic after us, we did it first. So we have jurisdiction and lawful standing. So that's where this is. So now we're waiting for Trump to make this announcement. And he's dropped a lot of clues and a lot of hints to kind of get the people thinking in this realm, right? Mm-hmm. Restore the republic. We have to get our republic back. You know, he does this every once in a while.
That's true. Yep.
And so, and that's got to make people go, what does he mean get the republic back? I thought we had a republic. And then they start doing the research. They hear our podcasts and stuff like that. And they go, oh, we don't have one. And of course, now the courts make sense and all that other stuff because they're all actors. You know, when he says central casting,
right,
he ain't kidding. It's the entire corporate crime syndicate that's been pretending to be our government this whole time since 1871. There's no law, there's no justice, there's no nothing. But they did a really good act up until now, and now it's just blatantly in your face.
He's talking about when he says central casting, he's referring to the corporate side of things.
And it's that, and the fact that he's got that he puts people in positions to
act a part that they're not.
Act a part. Yeah. To say things and do things to help the people wake up.
Excellent.
It is a great awakening. It is huge, and he has to do it in a way because the number one rule of, and this is now Sandy's assessment, they didn't tell us this, but I can tell you that that's what they're doing because I can see it every day, is they're going to take the options when they come to some decision of the least amount of violence and death. No matter what, they're going to go with the option of the least amount of violence and death. They don't want a civil war. That's the bad guy's side who wants the civil war and the unrest and the, internal fighting and all this kind of stuff. That's the thing we can't do unless we're absolutely pushed to the limit and there's no other choice. And even then I would not like to encourage it because, as you know, war is not something that should ever be asked for.
And if you have great finesse, you never have war. So,
that's right. That's what they're doing.
Right. Very good.
That's everything you see that happening.
Because I am not connected with any particular group, but I speak on my own, and I know that I'm at the forefront of a lot of this stuff because based on my background, I'm great observational skills, intuitive, so I can speak for them, and then I hear them come behind me after sometimes I speak out. So I know I'm pushing, I'm like at the bow, pushing, the ship forward. But
we say the edge of the envelope in the Air Force.
That really makes a difference. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah,
we say you're pushing the edge of the envelope in the Air Force.
Oh, good. Very good. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. So now we're waiting for the announcement from Trump. We anticipate we will get contact with the good guy military in a few days or so, probably before that announcement comes. It will seem pretty obvious that it's going to be time to do that. Obviously not now during a war with Iran, which if you're hooked into the Promethean action folks, which are phenomenal, they are getting it 100% right with the actual conflict war problem is the so-called British Empire from the city-state center of London. The financial.
We should just go in and take down the city of London, and that'll solve so many
problems. That one little spot right in the middle.
We should just invade that and just destroy it. So, but again, finesse. So Trump is expert
and slow, and stay under that that threshold of when everyone goes violent, right? So that's the most important part, is we don't go into that. And so that's why all the patriots that are listening to this and they're going, yeah, why is it going so slow? They have to.
Yeah.
And I am absolutely certain that they're using some very sophisticated AI to help them make their decisions and to kind of run the scenarios. And okay, what if this, then what are all the dominoes and how do we mitigate that? And what are your recommendations? There's no way a human or a bunch of humans can do that. So that's my assessment, is that they've been using this AI technology for at least 20 years, if not longer.
Yeah.
And they're saying, oh, well, AI is up and coming. I'm like, yeah, right. It's been around for a lot longer than that. Yeah. But now they're talking about it anyway. All right. So now he contacts us, or they contact us, and they say, okay, it's coming. Get ready. And he makes the announcement, and we go into full martial law, like a COVID lockdown. Huh, we just practiced this, right? So everyone stay home, take care of your families. Don't go out unless you have the special pass, like your hospital utility worker, people that are needed in order to keep life going. And there'll be checkpoints and all the rest of that. And it'll be National Guard for the most part, with active duty augmentation, probably reserves. I think, of course, you and I could talk about the military side of things, but now we're talking about the Law of War Manual and Chapter 11 in particular. And what does it look like when you have a occupying force? There's a word I couldn't come up with. So the occupying force in America has been the cabal. Right. This is the foreign, Vatican, City Center of London, and all the rich, yucky people that have been doing all this evil stuff all around the world in every country. Yeah. And they've been occupying this country, and there are requirements. Yeah. And they've been occupying this country, and there are requirements for when you are the occupying force, and they have not done their job. And so they are guilty of all these crimes. And so that's going to be playing into all of this as well. Yeah. And so they will be rounded up, if they're not already being rounded up. I mean, I don't know what to believe. I'm sure you don't either, about what they say is going on with, so-and-so was arrested and now there's a clone, or, whatever. I'm like, I'm not even going to try to figure that out. But you and I are pay attentionists. That's the real name for conspiracy theorists, by the way.
Pay attentionist. I like that.
It's a pay attentionist, because, Biden pictures, I mean, come on, from when he was vice president, he looked like a mafioso, and now, no. Anyways, not the same guy. Yep. So we anticipate that then the announcement will be made. It's like, all right, we are going back to the Republic. I'm pretty sure he knows he can't be the Republic. He was elected by a corporate people in a corporate election. I will say in this case, he did win, because there was, I don't have evidence of this, more circumstantial, but my brain does this kind of connecting dots. There was a good guy military operation to diminish the cheating enough so Trump could win in 2024. They intentionally let it go out of control in 2020, because that was a wake-up process, a very large wake-up process. COVID was another very large wake-up process. And so those were the ways that you could do it without violence for the most part.
Finesse.
So, there we go. Yeah. So now they go with the announcement. You get the whole, whatever they call it, 10 days of darkness or whatever, and that's going to vary. I live in a very small, low population rural county in East Texas. We probably won't be under the strictest martial law for very long. Right. Because we don't have that many bad guys here. This is all patriots, fully on board with the Second Amendment. So you got the basics on that one. But Austin, Chicago, Miami, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, and these are going to take a while.
Yeah.
These are going to take a while. So you can anticipate a longer martial law in those locations.
There's going to be some revolting going on in some of those areas too.
Under strict martial law?
I've seen it in combat zones.
You see now what I'm saying, though? Yeah, but they will be the only ones out.
They'll F around and find out, but
that's right.
It will be initial, and then it'll calm down. So,
yes. Well, it'll take one example.
Hopefully, just one.
Yeah. It'll take one, and then that word will get around, and they'll be like, no. And so that's what we expect. We get the call. We say, you are now the Republic. And all we do, temporarily fill the positions. So give the military the lawful civil authority that they asked us for in November of 2008.
Wow.
So they can go off and do what they need to do.
Incredible.
Without being a military overthrow, because they won't do it.
That's incredible. The length of time and the focus and the setbacks, and then overcoming those setbacks and pushing forward. That's a military mindset right there. That's fantastic. Long-term warfare. I'm used to that, so I see the process. I completely agree with it. The results of it have been tremendous.
Well, now that you mentioned that, this is a perfect time for me to make basically these kinds of podcasts, all the veterans out there right now, to please go to the members website, sign up, and volunteer to hold these positions. You'll probably talk directly to me at some point. And I'll connect you with a governor if we have one. We have a couple states that don't have governors right now because of the latest infiltration. But we have folks that they're not going. They're not leaving. We're staying. We're holding our ground. This is it. So this is our last chance to do this, to save our country. So
and there's when you go to the site, the Republic for the United States of America.org, there's going to be a registration little button right in the far right corner. Just hit that. You register.
Now, we have
yeah, go ahead.
We have a second website that's actually our original one, and I call it the archive website. And so the one you're on says members.republicfortheunitedstatesofamerica.org. If you take members off the front and you just put Republic for the United States of America.org, that's it. That's the website, the one you just had. And so when you click on join now, it will bring you to that website. So if you go backward, forward, wherever you were, where it was the darker blue color, that was our original what I call the art, that one. And then there's the big join now button up there in the upper right. So either way, you can go to either website and it'll bring you to where you need to be. So I'm challenging my veteran brothers and sisters out there.
Yes, I am too.
To come and join us.
And this, like I said, it's easy.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe it's going to be something that you may have to get more involved in. I'm willing to do that if necessary. I've been involved in a lot of stuff that was unnecessary and it's very frustrating. But this is obviously because I hadn't heard about this before, so I feel
because of the shadow banning.
Exactly. So I feel
if we weren't relevant, why do they have to shadow ban?
Get the right information. So this is fantastic. Right. So yeah, it definitely needs to be shared widely and joined.
Well, Michael, we can really use your help with continuing to get that word out. We can have additional podcasts. I can bring on other Republic members.
Please.
And we can, fill in some more of the blanks. This was just kind of an introduction to the whole idea.
Yeah.
But I need some folks that are really dedicated. And I'm talking about the military veterans who maybe you realize that you were lied to your whole career. You have to come to grip with, was my entire career a lie? because here I was involved in Gulf War I, Somalia, Kosovo, bankers' wars. All of them were bankers' wars. All wars are bankers' wars. So did I serve my country honorably? I would say yes, in my heart. I thought I was serving my country honorably. Some folks out there might feel downtrodden because maybe they see it more obviously to them that they were lied to and that they were not fighting for their country, but they were filling some more of the blanks. This was just kind of an introduction to the whole idea.
Yeah.
But I need some folks that are really dedicated. And I'm talking about the military veterans who maybe you realize that you were lied to your whole career. You know, you have to come to grip with, was my entire career a lie? Because here I was involved in Gulf War I, Somalia, Kosovo, bankers' wars. All of them were bankers' wars. All wars are bankers' wars. So did I serve my country honorably? I would say yes, in my heart. I thought I was serving my country honorably. Some folks out there might feel downtrodden because maybe they see it more obviously to them that they were lied to and that they were not fighting for their country, but they were fighting for the dang banksters. So here's your chance to redeem yourself. Come in and, you know, since like I said, this is our last chance to bring this republic back. And Trump and the good guy military are relying upon this republic and you to come in and to do your duty and help us to do this.
Fabulous. Well, thanks so much, Sandy. Any final words?
I just wanted to say that everyone here knows that we are temporary. And our number one mission, as soon as we are stood up, is to hold that first election. The rumor is 120 days is how much time we'll have to hold it. And then an actual Republic election with actual Republic people and an actual Republic Congress and Senate and et cetera. And then we all do the handshake with our replacements and we're out.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other group that promises to do that. But that's what we've said that we're going to do, sworn that we're going to do this whole time. So that's all we're doing is, yes, it's a lot of work. I'm not going to lie to you and say that we're only seat warmers. It's work. So we need folks that are ready to work and recruit and stand up counties and then stand up state assemblies, et cetera. So that's basically our ask.
Yeah.
And we're hoping we're going to reach a lot of your folks.
A 10-day EBS type, lockdown, and then the vote comes 120 days after that, and then we'll revote. And it's not President Trump may get revoted into the Republic, and that's the bigger
we assume that's what's going to happen is that he will run as the Republic presidential candidate. Now, nice. One other thing to look at is we revert to December 19th of 1860. That is in our founding documents and our first Congress. Why that date? And that's because it was right before the Civil War and the day before the first state left the Union. And so we knew we had a healthy republic at that point. So we go back to that, which means no other law, amendment, nothing happens, is in this Constitution that we stand for. So it goes back to the original 13th Amendment.
Sweet. Not
the one we have now. And it's like, oh, but that was freeing the slaves. It's like, yes, but when it says all men are created equal, in our documents, it says all means all. So we don't have to worry about the amendments that freed the slaves and all the rest of it. You're already free. Actually, you're going to be free because the 14th Amendment enslaved us all again anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's what we go back to. And then comes the extremely difficult decades, if not generations, job of rebuilding the country.
Yep.
Join us.
And
and help.
the re-education, taking away the control systems, and
Yep.
we were educated wrongly and all that stuff. Yeah.
Take a Constitution course. There's a lot of them online. Hillsdale College has an excellent one.
Oh, really? Good.
So that's, start there. Start on our website. Go read our declaration and our proclamation and see what it is we stand for. Do your research. Read these books. Yeah. So all of that stuff is a way that you can at least take a step forward to unlearn what you have learned, as Yoda said, right?
Yeah, and maybe some people are lucky they didn't learn it. Now they're going to learn it the right way.
The right way, that's right. Especially the young folk.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are our, frustrated 20, 30, and 40-year-olds?
Yeah, no doubt.
There's out there, I know, because we do hear from them every once in a while. But yeah, we are trying to reach them as well. So.
Yeah, my audience starts at 40. I have a few of the 30s and 20s, but not so many. So it'd be nice to get them involved as well, no doubt.
Yes, sir.
All right, Sandy. So thank you so much. Fantastic show, and look forward to doing more. We'll get together and figure out when and who else we need to bring in to, take this next level like you're talking about. That'd be great. Yes,
sir. Thank you, Michael, so much. It was really a nice podcast with you, and nice to meet you.
Yeah, same. Likewise. And who knows? Maybe you'll be if you want the invite, we'll hook you up with some of the other podcasters out there as well.
Well, let's talk offline about that. We've actually got a few that have turned against us, so make sure they're actually friendlies. Yeah. So we kind of heard a little bit about that. So we had to read through everything, and that's why we decided to go with you. So I know what you're talking about. So yeah, we won't just throw you to the wolves. We'll make you're hanging out with the lambs. No, I'm okay with the wolves anyways, because when God is on your side, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks a lot. And thanks everybody to listen, share this widely, and make sure you go in and join. It doesn't cost you anything. And then you get your name in there, and we can, get this thing rolling a little bit faster.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.